Well, hello, and welcome to Shine On, the Health and Happiness Show. My name is Kacey. I am so glad you're watching. Our guest today is the lovely Bernadette Bloom. It is June, and everything is in bloom, and I brought wonderful fresh fruit for the crew, and you know I love my crew. So thank you, Cass, behind that camera, and also Michael in the back room, and Joseph, and Maria, and George. It's a wonderful volunteer group here, and I'm so grateful that they all work together to help me get some really interesting information out to you. So thank you guys, and enjoy the fresh fruit and the lovely blooms, especially this one, Bernadette. There is just so much information to share with you. Bernadette Bloom is an esoteric healer. Let's start there. What's an esoteric healer? Short version, short answer.
Okay, esoteric healing is a high vibrational energetic technique that comes from Tibet.
A high vibrational energetic technique.
That comes from Tibet.
So it's an ancient practice?
Very ancient practice. There's 26 books written on it.
Okay.
Everybody says I have the blue book, and I say, which blue book?
Let's see, there are blue books.
Because there are blue books.
Let me take a peek at these. So these are called Esoteric Healing, Esoteric Psychology 2. Okay. So there's 26 blue books
Correct.
on Esoteric Healing.
Correct. And the books are very difficult to understand, but because I teach this work, I've translated it into hopefully language that people understand.
Okay. Is there a person or a school of thought that we could attach to esoteric healing in Tibet?
Energy follows thought. Energy follows thought.
Okay, I get the concept, but who wrote the books?
Oh, it's from a Tibetan master named Dwal, and it was translated Dwal, and it was translated by an English woman named Alice Bailey.
Okay.
So it's in Old English.
Oh.
Old English.
So what year were the books written?
Back in it took 30 years to write the books.
Alice did all the writing?
Yes.
She must have been tired.
She started when she was 39, and she was told that there was 30 years worth of work planned. 30 years and 30 days later, she passed. She was done.
She was done. Okay. All right. So there are the books on the esoteric healing, and you found them and you read them, and now you teach this.
Correct.
Okay.
It was introduced to me in 1992, and my first teacher was an accountant from England.
Really?
Yes. So people say, oh, you have to be in the medical profession. No. My second teacher was an accountant from England.
Different accountants from England.
Different accountants from England. Because Alice Bailey was from England originally.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from.
Now, we're going to just try, this is a whole great big subject. If there's 26 books on it, and we only have 26 minutes to
Correct.
explain, we're just going to give an overview.
Correct.
So here's how I met Bernadette. On my Shine On radio show, someone wrote in, I think they caught me on LinkedIn, and they were like, Kacey, I love your Shine On show. You're always talking about interesting things. You should interview Bernadette Bloom. And I have a tendency to say yes, so I said sure, and I called you up, and we did a radio interview.
Correct.
And then I came to you, and you gave me an esoteric healing.
Correct.
Okay, so I remember it was lovely. We had a wonderful conversation. I relaxed on a table. What were you doing when I was relaxing on the table with my eyes closed?
Okay. So what you do in an esoteric healing session, when you go, the easy way to explain it is when you go on an airplane, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on before you help anybody.
Right.
Correct. So when you do an esoteric healing treatment, you have to put not your oxygen mask on, but a spiritual oxygen mask on. So that would be this, what we would call the blue picture.
The blue picture. Okay,
Right.
so this
So
is
this
the
is me.
healer
Right.
interacting with
Right.
divine energy.
Correct. Well, we call this the facilitator.
The facilitator.
Facilitator.
So before the practice, you, the facilitator, you center yourself and you reach out to divine healing.
Correct.
Okay, then what happens?
Then this is the person
Yes.
that I'm going to be facilitating the treatment with. So I make a connection with them up to the universal life
And what
force.
does that mean, you make a connection?
Well,
with
because
them?
energy follows thought, and I know how to think.
Yes, you do.
I think, connect to the highest spiritual connection possible with this person.
Okay, so energy follows thought. So the basis here is you think, let me connect, therefore the energy connects you?
Correct. And that works universally.
All the time.
All the time. Like if you think about it in everyday terms, if you think about somebody, and you're like, oh, I really need to I'm thinking about them, I should really give them a call, What happens? Ding, hi, so-and-so. Oh, I was just
Because
thinking
my
about you.
energy followed that thought?
That your energy connected to that person connected to it. It might not have been at that moment. It could have been days or weeks.
Yeah. But it doesn't happen all the time, because I've been thinking about George Clooney for years, and he has not called me.
But what have you been asking him exactly? I don't know.
All right, but I see what you're saying. Energy follows thought. So you connect first to
my own
spiritual divinity.
Correct.
And then you say, I'm going to connect to this person.
Correct.
And their spiritual divinity?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we ask for the highest and the best good to happen. The highest and the best good. Whatever that is at this moment, at this time, and bring all this healing energy through me and back into
the person. So the healing energy comes from where?
From here.
From the
here.
divine.
Both places, here and here. Their higher self and the divine.
Okay, so the divine is way up high.
Yeah.
And then we have a smaller divine, our higher self, over top of us?
It's like a step down of the energy.
Okay.
Some people would call it a higher self.
Okay.
Where there's different names in different traditions,
Okay.
which I'm not going to name.
So you're connecting first with the big guy, and then you're connecting with the divinity in the person you're about to heal.
Correct.
So picture small ball of light over person's head and larger ball of light over that.
Correct.
This is the superpower, and this is the higher self, which is the divinity in each person.
Correct.
I'm on board.
Well done.
Well, it's, I've been trying to follow along for a while now, but I think I finally got it. So once you say, okay, I'm tapped in, client, to not only your best, highest energy, but also the divine's best and highest energy, I'm tapped in, then what do you do?
Then there's 7 areas of energy. They're called chakras. Chakras is a Hindu term. And then I start to think about the different chakras.
Okay, I'm wearing my chakras right here.
Correct.
These are our 7 energy centers.
7 energies.
The red root at the base of the spine and the white.
Crown. Crown is at the top.
Yes, but the red root at the base of the spine and the crown at the top.
Correct.
So here are my 7 energy centers. And they go along the spine.
They go along the spine and they go to different parts of the body.
So you start to think about each one.
Yes.
Now, can you sense, can you sense what's going on with somebody's root chakra? How do you sense it? What do you see?
Well, I'm a feeler, so I can feel it.
What do you mean? You put your hands?
So I put my hands like this, and I think about the person, and I can feel something going on in between here.
You can feel energy on your hands.
Correct. We also call it the bioelectric field.
The bioelectric field, everybody's got one.
Everybody has a bioelectric field.
Okay. So while I was relaxing on the table, you had your hands in my bioelectric field.
Correct.
And you got messages.
Correct.
Messages that you felt or messages that you felt?
Both. Because there's different levels. Each level has a physical level, an emotional level, a mental level, a personality level, and a spiritual level, and it's explained in the constitution of the human being. Mm-hmm. So it's not so easy. You don't just sit down and get it.
Right.
But I always ask that people understand it in the language that they understand.
Right.
And I can feel which level is stuck.
Okay. So I've got 7 chakras, my energy centers in my body, and each of my 7 chakras have 7 layers?
6.
6 layers. And you go through all 6 layers?
Correct.
And tell me the 6 layers again.
Physical, emotional, mental, personality.
The personality of the chakra?
Correct.
Right. Wow.
Then there's a soul level or higher self level.
Okay.
And then there's many levels of the spiritual level.
Wow.
Which makes it very different from Reiki.
Yes.
So it's much more complex, but it's much more specific. And for me, it's easier to teach. Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah, well, do you have to read all 26 books?
No, I would never, no. No, I don't ask anybody to read any of the books because they're extremely complex. But because I've studied it for such a long time,
You can break it down.
I've been doing this since 1992
Right.
and teaching since 1999. And as a teacher, I felt I needed to find the language that everyone would understand, but it might not be my language.
Right.
So that's what I've really worked to do.
Okay. We are talking to the lovely Bernadette Bloom. We are talking about esoteric healing. It is a very gentle yet very in-depth practice, very interesting practice. And Bernadette mentioned that it's different from Reiki. And for those of you who don't know, Reiki is an energy healing relaxation technique that's done working in someone's energy field with the direction of energy from your hands. And it's very, very simple. This is a little more involved. And it has to do with, I guess, you develop, in the doing it, you develop a certain perception?
Yes, and I also have to tell you that when I first started, I didn't feel or sense anything, but I did this connection, and then I just prayed that it would work.
Yeah.
And then I literally timed everything for 30 seconds because I couldn't.
You timed it.
I
I'll
timed
do
it.
30 seconds on this chakra at this level, 30 seconds on the same chakra at the second level, 30 seconds on this chakra, and then you went, okay.
And then, because I didn't know, I couldn't feel then.
Right.
Back in 1992, I couldn't feel. Now, many people are more advanced now, so they can feel, but I just couldn't stay there on one chakra and hope for the best. So I could, but I had my Timex watch and I could time it.
So you came at it, like an accountant.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been studying Reiki for a while and I've had the opportunity to talk to some really great teachers. And sometimes I say to them, I'm doing Reiki and sometimes I am feeling stuff, energy bouncing off my hands, or just, you feel like you're in the presence of something fantastic and you feel like, the client is benefiting from it fantastically, and they get up and say, oh yeah, that was nice. Right? And other times you're going through your grocery list in your head. You don't mean to, of course, but you bring yourself back and you're saying, do I need hummus? No, let me get back to work. And they get up and say, oh my God. So really, oftentimes, the best thing a practitioner can do is get out of the way.
Exactly. You have to get out of the way. That's why we ask for the highest and the best.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what that is.
Right.
But this connection knows what the highest and the best is.
And I think there's something healing in any of us at any moment getting together, connecting with each other, and putting the higher God into the equation.
It's much easier.
Right?
Much easier. Then you just get out of the way.
And get out of the way and see what God can do. All right. So we are talking about esoteric healing, and here's what people want to know, I am sure. Who comes to you for esoteric healing? Can I come for a sore throat? Can I come for emotional trauma? What's it good for?
It's been my experience that it's really good for anything. If you have a common cold, people say, oh, I've been sick for like 5 days. That's on the emotional level. And if you would have come to me, you would probably get better in a couple of hours versus 5 days.
Okay, so a common cold is on the emotional level for everyone?
For everyone.
That colds just, we've got the different chakras, and then we've got the levels of the different chakras, and one of the levels is emotional.
Correct.
And that's colds fall into that?
Correct.
We get a cold because of an emotional issue.
Correct.
Okay.
And I have a book called The Creation of Health.
The Creation of Health.
That were written by two of my mentors, Norm Shealy, who's a neurologist, and Dr. Carolyn Mace. And he wrote the physical diagnosis, and she wrote the energetic diagnosis. And I just happen to know that if you want to know about the common cold, it's on page 209.
Okay, the common cold's on page 209. Do you want to read it?
Sure.
If you can find it. A medical doctor once said to me that he believed the common cold was uncried tears.
I believe that. So on page 209, Dr. Norman Shealy talks about what happens when you have a cold, and everybody, I don't have to demonstrate it, everybody knows what a cold feels like. But right here, Dr. Norman Shealy says, it has been known for many years that a cold only affects someone whose immune system is already weakened, and that furthermore, the cold virus is not something that is caught.
You can't catch a cold.
Not according to Dr. Norman Shealy.
You can't give me a cold.
No.
Unless my immune system is already down.
Correct. And that's the heart chakra, the emotional level of the heart chakra.
But if my chakras and my immune system is in good shape, I can't get a cold.
Correct.
Okay. But so it's not, the common cold is common because our immune systems and our heart chakras aren't always in the shape they should be in.
No, because we have this stuff called unmanaged stress in your life. Notice unmanaged stress.
Unmanaged stress.
And Carolyn Mace, in her energetic description, says, a person becomes susceptible to the cold virus as a result of emotional exhaustion brought on by the ordinary business of living.
Emotional exhaustion.
Emotional exhaustion.
Carolyn Mace is an amazing medical intuitive. She really is an incredible person if you ever wanted to get into that a little more. And her name is spelled M-Y-S-S.
M-Y-S-S. And I studied with Dr. Norman Shealy and Dr. Carolyn Mace in the mid-90s on his farm.
Oh, very cool.
It was a very powerful experience.
I get a cold when someone near me has a cold, and I start oh my God, I'm going to get this cold. I know I'm going to get this cold. I know I'm going to get this cold. I hate this person. Why did they come to work with this cold?
So you just proved that energy follows thought. You just said it. Oh my God, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get sick.
Right.
Why did this person come to work?
Energy follows thought.
So you just said it.
Right.
There it is.
Okay. What should I be saying?
And we all do it. We all do it.
I should be saying, I feel healthy
I'm
and
healthy
strong.
and strong.
And I don't see anyone sneezing repeatedly.
Exactly.
All right. So you think people can come to you for all things?
Yeah. The common cold is pretty easy. Something more complex, like autism or MS or Parkinson's, it's more complex. So it's not like you get one session and voila. You know, it's a layer. It's like peeling the onion.
You have great success with
I do.
people who have autoimmune issues, yes?
I do.
Tell us about that.
What I do when people come to me, I ask them to email me 3 emotional things that they have not been able to resolve on their own. Most people say just 3.
Wow, okay.
I'm like, well, let's just start with 3.
3 emotional things you have. Like, what could that be, though?
I got divorced 20 years ago, and I haven't
All right.
resolved it yet. Or
I'm not speaking to a child.
Correct.
Or
I just lost my job.
Or bankruptcy, or
whatever.
anything.
It could be anything. And everybody's different, and maybe what's not powerful for me could be powerful for somebody else.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, but we can't say autoimmune disease is caused by emotional issues, can we?
Deep. The layers, physical, emotional, mental, personality, soul, and then spiritual, according to the constitution of the human being and the esoteric teachings, the imbalance is on the soul level. So it's much more complex. Yes, it's the heart chakra,
right?
But it's much more complex than just on the emotional level.
So I'm going with this, even though I don't fully understand it, all of it. But if this complex issue is on the soul level, Does that mean the person came into this lifetime with the issue?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
And when it's on the soul level, it means very simply and more complex that you have to look at it differently, or hear it differently, or understand it differently.
Okay. I do believe that that different kind of language, whatever it may be, and I believe all these modalities exist, like all faiths exist, because we are all so different, and God needs every avenue he can to reach every kind of different mind, right?
Correct.
But I do believe when people hear something new that touches their soul, or whatever is going on, there's a release and there's an aha.
There is, and that ha could be a huge shift in that person.
Yeah.
And I was also very blessed to study with Dr. Brian Weiss, who does a lot of past life work, and he's written a number of books. And he says, and this is one of my favorite expressions, the mind only works when it's open, similar to a parachute. Parachute doesn't work when it's closed.
Yeah.
So the mind only works when it's open,
it's
similar
funny.
to a parachute.
A Course in Miracles says, judgment blocks the light, which is the same. When you have a judgment, your mind is closed. And there could be so many things that this issue wants to show you, but if you're judging or closed your mind, you can't see it.
Correct.
If you're just pushing against it, no, you can't see what the gift is in there.
So one of the
Easier said than done, of course.
Well, one of the things that I really like about this work also is that we have different energy, besides the chakras, we have different energy centers in the body to help us see things differently. Like there's a courage area. So if somebody's having a really hard time seeing something differently, I can do the courage area, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, oh.
Is this the courage chakra?
The courage chakra is the root chakra and the knees. And if you think about it, a lot of people say, I just got on my knees and prayed. So we ask that you have the courage and get up and walk through life in a different way.
Yeah.
And people do.
Yeah. You know, you need a lot of courage. Life isn't for sissies.
No.
It's just not. It's just not for sissies. Are there some people who don't want to heal?
That's the title of one of Carolyn Mace's books,
Really?
Why People Don't Heal and How They Can.
She scares me a little bit, but I'll read that one. So I think what I'm saying is, because the question was a little judgy, but I think what I'm saying is all of us hold on to things. All of us hold on to things we could let go of, right?
Yes.
And in the holding on, we can make ourselves sick.
Yes, and I want to.
It's
not a conscious level. It's not like people say, well, I just feel like being sick today. But I also want to make a distinction, and people ask me all the time, there's a difference between curing and healing.
Yeah.
Curing is, I have a headache, I take the aspirin, the headache goes away. That's curing, that's a symptom. The symptom goes away. The traditional definition of healing is to make whole. Whatever that is. And people get the two of them confused all of the time.
Right. So you can be whole
and still have an illness.
and still have an illness.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha. You can be whole and still have an illness.
Correct.
We are having a conversation with Bernadette Bloom. You mentioned you brought two beautiful charts here, and if Mike and Joe want to bring those up, you can explain a little bit what they, just quickly, because we just have a few minutes left, talk about what the charts mean.
Okay, sure, I'd love to. Which one should we do
So
first?
let's see, which one will they bring up first? Let's go with this one.
This one.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so at the top of the chart is the chakras, and those are the big energy centers of the body, and there's 21 lines of energy, or nadis, that cross to make a chakra. So that's like the electricity of the house.
Right.
So you got to have the juice. Then the energy flows into the first part of but the chakras are not in the physical body. So the first part of the physical body that the energy flows into is the nervous system. That's what gets the energy first. And then it flows into the endocrine system. Those are all the glands of the body, adrenals, ovaries, testes, etc. Then it flows into the blood. And the blood goes, if you think about the blood goes to every single part of your body.
Right.
If the blood stops flowing, that body part dies.
Right.
And then the last place to receive the energy is the organs, the stomach, the liver, the gallbladder, the kidneys, the last place.
So that's the flow. So you say the chakras are not in the body?
No, they're in the energy field. They're in the bioelectric field, but they're not, they intersect with the body, but they're really around.
Around the body. Okay. And the other chart you brought is called?
The constitution of the human being.
Constitution.
Constitution.
Can you do this in a minute?
Sure. The physical body is the last to heal, and it's on the bottom, and the divine is the number one at the top, and we would call that the universal life force or higher power. And the energy flows from the divine through these different bodies, and the physical body is the last to heal according to the esoteric teachings.
Esoteric healing, that is the topic. Bernadette Bloom is the facilitator.
Thank you.
Now, you came from a more traditional healthcare background. Tell us about that.
Traditional physical therapy.
Traditional physical therapy. Right.
Where I was just allowed to treat the physical body.
Right.
And then when I was doing that and people weren't getting better, and I hear that all the time, I said, have you been to physical therapy already? And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm not saying that traditional physical therapy doesn't work
it most certainly does.
Because it does, but if you have something more complex, like diabetes or MS or autism or fibromyalgia, if you have fibromyalgia, you don't want anybody touching you in traditional physical therapy.
Right, right. Okay, that's when they call you, Bernadette Bloom.
That's when they call me.
So when you're not working on people, you're teaching.
I am.
So there's lots of people out there in the world that are learning how to do this thanks to you.
There is.
Wow.
And then they get to work on themselves and their family and use it in their everyday life. So I really try to teach people this first.
Yeah.
Because this is the most powerful.
And everybody should, in any situation, connect to the highest and then connect to the higher.
Correct.
In
Otherwise,
each.
you pick up everybody's stuff. There's so much, we're being bombarded
Go
all the time.
high.
Go
high. Bernadette Bloom, our guest. Esoteric Healing is the topic, and your website is?
TheEsotericBloom.com.
TheEsotericBloom.com. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's a joy. Thanks to my crew, Cass, Mike, Joe, and George. And I think there's another Mike back there. And Maria, who always makes the set. Thank you so much. KaceyRadio.com. See you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Case.
Thank you.